Who is responsible for the current economic crisis of Pakistan? Political parties, establishment and bureaucracy all have joined hand in bringing Pakistan to the brink of destruction. What else do economists say? Pakistan's top economists have said that the responsibility for the worst economic crisis in the country's history cannot be blamed on any single political party. Everyone, including the political parties, the establishment and the bureaucracy, have a hand in bringing the country to the brink of destruction. Dr. Shahid Hassan Siddiqui, the renowned economist of the country, while talking to media, said that the most responsible group for the country's economic crisis is the powerful elite who made wrong policies, committed corruption, obtained illegal privileges and waived loans. He put the country in crisis and then put the entire burden of difficult decisions on the people by pretending to be the IMF. According to him, this class is present everywhere. It also gets the support of some politicians. They also get relief from the institutions. So even today, in order to correct the budget deficit, they reduce lavish government expenditures, reduce the size of the cabinet and corruption. Instead of taking effective steps to eliminate it, the entire burden has been placed on the poor people. According to him, this mafia of elites also encourages tax evasion in the name of tax amnesty, turns a blind eye to the smuggling of dollars and even breaks the agreement with the IMF for its own political interest. Pakistan's prominent economist Dr. Hafiz Pasha told media that most of the responsibility for the current crisis lies with the country's elite. Even if the one who has taken privileges of 4,000 billions leaves 2,000 billions of privileges, the common man can get relief from that too. According to Dr. Hafiz Pasha, the best 22% of Pakistan's agricultural land is currently owned by 1% of the elite, who earn 950 billion rupees annually and pay only 3 billion rupees in taxes. On the other hand, 450 billion rupees are taken from poor people by taxing food items including ghee, tea and drinks. Hot on government sword welfare programs, criticism from many constituencies. According to Dr. Hafiz Pasha, the current crisis is a story of 22 and 33 years, involving both civil and military governments. Efforts that should have been made to make the necessary economic reforms, document the economy and get rid of loss-making public institutions have not been seen. In response to a question, Dr. Hafiz Pasha said that the current economic crisis of the country is the most disturbing and difficult crisis in the country's history. According to him, we must also remember that the COVID epidemic, the worst floods in history, the global recession and the situation arising from the war in Ukraine have also contributed to this. In a short period of time, national debt has doubled. Pakistan has a debt of $126 billion. This crisis is created by the governments. He said that $13 billion are needed to pay the debt every year and the country needs $5 to $6 billion every month for essential imports, but the country's foreign exchange reserves of $3 billion have gone down. In response to another question, Dr. Hafiz Pasha said that the decline of the country's bureaucracy has also increased the severity of the country's economic crisis. The failure of their formulation of economic policies and implementation of economic policies has also increased the economic crisis of the country. Class differences and individual responsibility. Prominent economist of Pakistan Professor Dr. Akmal Hussain told media that the serious economic crisis facing Pakistan has come at a time when the country's political system is also in a state of crisis and the country is exposed to the threats of climate change and terrorism. According to him, this is a time when the relationship between the state and the people in the country is facing a crisis. Dr. Akmal Hussain believes that the elites are responsible for this economic crisis, which has placed foreign loans instead of talent and enterprises in the driving seat of the country's economy. According to him, economic decisions of the country should be made for 22 million people and not only for 1 million privileged people. The terrible truth of the world and the small laborers. In the opinion of Dr. Akmal Hussain, there are two ways to solve the country's crisis. One way is to go the way of the IMF to balance the budget, increase the tax revenue in any case, and eliminate the subsidies. In their opinion, this will slow down the country's economy. And unemployment, inflation and poverty will increase a lot. According to him, the second solution to the end of this crisis is to lease the valuable government land in the country's major cities to international trading companies, privatize the loss-making government institutions and pay off the debts. The money spent should be spent on improving people's health and education. In this way, people should be given an opportunity to play a role in the country's economy by training, and value-added exports should be encouraged. If this happens, it will be possible to end the economic crisis, otherwise the external loans will be used to repay the loans taken earlier, and after some time the economic crisis will start again. Increase in poverty, PMLN and PTI exchange accusations. Economic analyst Khalid Mahmoud Rasool told media that the people who have been in power in the country for the past 30 years are responsible for the country's current crisis, and they prioritize their personal and political interests over the country's interests. When these people see the government leaving, sometimes they break the agreement with the IMF, and sometimes they push the country into difficulties by delaying the agreement. In his opinion, the federal government formed under the leadership of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz today has to untie the knots with its teeth. These knots were tied by the Muslim League Nun in the past. In response to a question, Khalid Mahmoud Rasool said that it is true that if the courts were above the theoretical necessity and the establishment did not interfere in political matters, better effects on the country's economy could have been possible.